Yo, what's up? My name is Derek Minor. I'm a hip hop artist, producer, and a record label owner of Reflection Music Group. I also have a nonprofit that we're building called We Own Now. That's what the ownership is the new black is, so yeah. To be honest, as far as starting music, for me it started in the church, really. My mom was a fire baptized, Pentecostal, blue jean skirt wearing, big white shoes, no makeup, no jewelry, no nothing. So she would like drag me to church all the time. And I think that's why I started getting because I mean, quite honestly, church was kind of boring for me, but that's where my family was. Like I had so many people that even to this day we're like this because it was more than just the black community, the church is more than just a building or a social club, but oftentimes the church is like, it becomes a real family. So the thing that I loved the most was the music. You know, I would watch these amazing organ players come in and keyboard players and guitar players and bass players, and you see these big choirs or whatever. And that is where the first, I think, taste of that came from. So that has influenced me on a high level. And then my dad was a jazz musician. So he taught himself how to read music and play jazz guitar. So it was like the fusion of those two things is kind of where all that came from. But I never really took to jazz like that. My dad was so disappointed. He bought me a guitar when I was 10 and I never played it. Now I wish I would have played it every day, because now I don't have time to learn as much as I want. But, you know, and I never really took to the gospel music because it just never, I don't know, but it was just something about hip hop. So that's why my music, you always hear those influences. You'll hear jazz influences, you'll hear gospel influences, and everything else. One thing I really appreciate my dad was he always pushed me to listen to experimental genres. So he would have these like weird records with like maybe a naked woman on it or with a dog head on it. I'm like, who is this? And it's like some random band from the 60s that no one's ever heard of. He's like, listen to this, son. And they're like playing in some weird time signature, like 12:30 or something. Like, it's like, that's not even a time signature. It's just something they're just playing. But he made me start, you know, grabbing, into stuff like that. And that's what made me start experimenting more with even my music, so. So I first got introduced to hip hop with my cousin Keisha. I was in Michigan for the summer, hanging with her, and she popped in a DJ Quick tape. And I was like, what is this? It was like crazy. Cause again, you know, my mom was Pentecostal, so she wasn't going for none of that. So when she popped that tape in, I was hooked. And then from there, I just started diving into everything. I think as far as my desire to make music of substance, that's just always been my desire. Like, music has never really been a business to me. It's been a form of expression. So my music has substance because I would like to think that I have substance. And I think that is, you know, it's artists like the Marvin Gayes, and that, you know, their music is an extension, giving you access into their thoughts. They're giving you access into their heart and their mind, as opposed to just treating this like 100% a business. I would like to consider myself an artist first before a businessman in that regard, as far as art is concerned. Like, if the business is right but the art isn't right, then it's never gonna come out. Like, that's kind of my philosophy with that. So I think as far as if we're talking about like faith and social justice and social consciousness of people in general, that's just the thoughts that are in my head often. And it's my music is a combination of the thoughts and the life that I've lived wrapped into 10 songs on a release date. You know, when you read the Psalms, right? The Psalms were actually songs. Like David was a musician. David, with King Saul, he would play his harp and it would soothe King Saul. It would make him, it would literally soothe spiritually, it would soothe him. So when you go back and when you read the Psalms, David was just being honest in the Psalms. Like you could literally read the Psalms and see historically what was going on with him at that time and why he would express himself the way he did in the Psalms. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He make me to lie down in green pastures. He restoreth my soul. You would know, like, man, I bet he was writing that after, some of the most intense battles or whatever. The art, and we're literally looking at the Psalms in biblical canon today. The art that lasts forever is not the flavor of the week that works right now. Like, the art that lasts forever is the art that is honest and it's true. What's going on, the record from Marvin Gaye, what's going on is relevant today. Not because Marvin Gaye was trying to find out what's gonna be his next big hit, but because he literally took and processed what he saw around him, and the passion and the fire that was in him created a record. So if I was to say there's any actionable step for a producer, an artist, or a young entrepreneur, is you have to stay true to what's in your heart. That is where the impact comes from. I would hate to be the artist that has made a lot of money living a lie, because you forever have to be someone else. And you are really a slave to the lie. You're a slave to the record label that tells you to keep the lie up. And you're a slave to a lie that is something you may not even believe. For me, I get to be 100% Derek wherever I go. And I get to make money. So that, for me, I wouldn't trade that hand in for anything. And I honestly feel like the music that I make now, for the people that have been exposed to it, they'll be able to listen to it 20 years from now and it'll still be relevant. And is that not the goal? Is the goal to just make something that only worked for summer and then it was over? Or is the goal to be able to make something that lasts as long as the songs? For me, it's the latter version of that. The beautiful thing about an art piece, right, is even a visual art piece, is I can look at it and you can look at it and we may see something totally different. The thing about audio art is same thing to a degree. I can listen, you can listen, and you may pick something out that I might not pick out. But oftentimes with art, music art, is very direct. It's really hard to kind of miss the subject. And my challenge to most listeners is, if you've loved an artist for 5, 10, 6 years, and they've been right and on point about everything, and you're like, man, I love this artist. When an artist changes directions and may say something that rubs you wrong or makes you uncomfortable, you should consider that in context of the fact that you've loved this artist for so long. And if they're saying it, maybe it's really important for you to listen. Like, a good friend, if I'm your friend, if I've never made you uncomfortable, then I probably am not really your friend. We probably only have a surface level conversation. My best friends, we argue all the time because they want to get the best out of me and I want to get the best out of them. And that is what music relationship is with fans for an artist like myself that's creating art. Now, flavor of the week, party records, which are dope. I love party records. But, there's not really much as far as conversation there. But for conversational, conscious artists, it's important to consider if someone has been right for 5 years in your eyes, then don't let one song make you think that they've off their rocker. Maybe that person may have got somewhere a little faster than you, or maybe they may be off their rocker, but consider it at least. And I think that that's the problem in today's world, especially as there's this huge pour-in of information that is always happening is that we are so quick to eject from conversations that make us uncomfortable. It's really easy. If I don't like you, I block you, right? And I use the block button a lot, I'm just gonna be honest. But, or I unfollow you or whatever. But I think that's also has made us slightly weak when it comes to conflict, or when it comes to things that make us uncomfortable. We do not want to be uncomfortable, but is it not the uncomfort of lifting weights that help you build muscles? Is it not the uncomfort of running a mile every day that allows you to run 2 miles the next day, right? Is it not the uncomfort of playing the guitar and your fingers hurt and all of that? Is it not that uncomfort that helps you grow? The uncomfortable moments is what help you grow. And I think that when you're listening to music, consider that at times. And, you know, it's always your choice, but definitely consider that.